Our goal in this section is to be able to write the equation of a line when given 2 points on the line, or when given the slope and a point on the line. Let's begin by recalling what is slope, or rate of change. Remember, that is the rise over the run, the change in y over the change in x, and the formula to find change in y, subtracting the y coordinates, y sub 2 minus y sub 1, divided by x sub 2 minus x sub 1, subtracting the x coordinates. Let's also recall what is slope-intercept form. That is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. And then recall standard form. That is ax plus by equals c, where a, b, and c are real numbers, and a and b are not both 0. Let's do some examples. Write the equation of each line in slope-intercept form. So as soon as I see that I need to write it in slope-intercept form, I'm going to circle that direction and write down what is slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. So remember, m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. Those are the two things I need to make my equation. Let's look at number 1 and what they give us. The line goes through the point 6, negative 5, and the slope is 1/2. Well, remember, the slope, that's the m, and we have that. The slope is the m. So we already have that part of our equation, the m. That's useful, but do we have the b? The b is the y-intercept. And remember that the y-intercept is written as 0, comma, the number that it is, such as 0b. But I'm not given the point with 0 as the x. I'm given as 6. So that means I don't have the y-intercept. I need to find the y-intercept so I can complete this equation. Let's begin by writing the equation of slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. In order to find the b that we don't have, we're going to use the point, the x and the y that we do have, and do some substituting. So we have an x, that is 6. So in place of the x in our equation, we can substitute a 6. We also have a y coordinate. Here's the y. The y is negative 5. Remember, every point gives an x and a y coordinate. So the y is negative 5. And then the m I was given is 1/2. That's our slope. When I plug in numbers, I usually put parentheses around them. Then I have equals in between the y and the mx, and then plus b after that. So notice I have an equation where the only unknown is the b. I'm trying to find b, the y-intercept. So I have negative 5 equals 1/2 times 6 is 3 plus b. And now I can get the b by itself by solving this equation. So let's draw a line at our equal sign. 3 is positive, added to b, I will say minus 3, and I have negative 8 equals b. So I know b is negative 8, and now I can put the b into my equation. So let's remind ourselves one more time, y equals mx plus b is the slope-intercept form. I know that the m is 1/2, so I can replace it in the equation, and now I know the b is negative 8, so I can replace it in the equation. So now we can write y equals m is 1/2 x. The b is negative 8. So instead of putting b, I can put negative 8 there. But I don't have to write plus negative 8. I can just write minus 8. And there is my equation in the slope-intercept form. Let's try another one. Now we're given 2 points on the line, are 9, 2, and 3, 10. Well, let's write down what our goal is, to write the equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. So we need a slope, our m, and we need a y-intercept, the b. Did they give us either this time? No, we don't have the slope m. What is m? We need to find that. We also don't have a y-intercept b. What is b? We need to find that. Remember, if we were given b, one of these x's would be 0. But they're not, so we're not given b. So let's start by finding m, the slope. Let's recall how we do that. M is rise over run if we have a graph. But given the points, we're going to use the slope formula, y2 minus y1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. And we're going to plug in the points that they gave us. Remember, both points have an x and a y, an x and a y. This is our first point, so this is x1 and y1. This is our second point, so this is x sub 2 and y sub 2. And we can plug these into our formula. So into y sub 2 and y sub 1, here is y sub 2, 10, and y sub 1, 2. So we'll do 10 minus 2 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. X sub 2 is 3, and x sub 1 is 9. 3 minus 9. 10 minus 2 makes 8, and 3 minus 9 makes negative 6. Simplifying this makes negative 4/3. Our slope is negative 4/3. Now we have the slope. Now we need b, the y-intercept. Well, when we had the slope before and an x and a y, remember how we found the b? We plugged in information from one of our points. So let's do that again. Let's choose one of our points. We want to use y equals mx plus b. We don't know the b, but we know everything else. We just found the m is negative 4/3, so in place of the m, we can substitute negative 4/3. Let's pick one of our points and substitute for the x and the y. The x is 9 and the y is 2. So for the x we put 9, and for the y we put 2. And then everything else, the equal sign and plus b, we can plug into the equation. Now let's compute it. 2 equals negative 4/3 times 9 makes negative 12 plus b. And now we need to get b by itself. So we're going to solve this equation for b. This is minus 12, so we will add 12 to both sides. And we get 14 equals, these cancel out, and b is left over. So b is 14. Now we have our b that we can plug into our equation. So again, let's remember, we're using y equals mx plus b. Y equals the m that we found earlier, -4/3. And the b we just found is 14, plus 14. And there's our equation in slope-intercept form. Number 3, given the following graph. So again, let's recall we need to write our equation in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. What are the things that we need? An m, the slope, and b, the y-intercept. Now last time we were able to look at the y-axis and go find where the y-intercept is. But notice this point is not on an integer coordinate. This point is somewhere between 1 and 2, but I don't know exactly where it is. So I'm not going to be able to use the picture to find exactly what b is. So instead, we're going to pick 2 points on our graph and calculate the slope first. Where do I see our line crossing the grid lines of the graph? Here is a spot, so I'm going to put a point there, a bold point. And here is another spot, so I'm going to make that point bold as well. I always read my graph going left to right. I notice that on the right side, I see the line is going up. So that means my slope will be positive. From the left, I count up 1 unit, and then I count over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. So that means my slope, where I used the rise over the run, is 1/6. Positive because I went up. So now I know my slope is 1/6. But what about my b? We can find the b doing what we did in the other 2 problems, taking 1 point and plugging in for the x and the y. So let's go pick one of the points. If we take this point right here, we need to name the coordinates of that point. That point is at, from the origin, count -1, -2, -3, -4, up 1. So we have an x that's -4 and a y that's 1. So for the y, we'll put 1. For the x, we'll put -4. And then let's put the equals symbol and the plus b. And now we can calculate what the b is. 1 equals 1/6 times -4 is -2/3 plus b. Now I can solve for b. So let's solve this equation. Draw a line at the equal sign. I'm subtracting 2/3, so I'm going to add 2/3 to both sides. That gets rid of that. 1 plus 2/3 makes 5/3. 5/3 equals b. So we know our b is 5/3. Now I can go back and write my equation. Y equals, remember we got m is 1/6 times x plus b is 5/3. Now I have the equation of my line in slope-intercept form. Number 4. 2 points on the line are -2, 4 and 5, 4. This is similar to number 2. Again, reminding ourselves we're using y equals mx plus b. We don't have b because neither of these have 0, and we don't have m, the slope. So let's start by finding m, the slope. Remember it's y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. X and y and x and y This is our first point, so 1, 1. Second point, 2, 2. And now we'll plug them in. The two y's are both 4. 4 minus 4. The x's, 5 and negative 2. 5 minus negative 2. 4 minus 4 is 0. 5 minus negative 2 really means 5 plus 2, so that's 7. And 0 divided by 7 is 0. Now we can go plug that in to the y equals mx plus b. Let's take one of these points to use. Here is our x, and here is our y. Y is 4, so in place of the y, we're going to put 4 equals m we found is 0. So in place of the m, we'll put 0. And the x is negative 2. So in place of the x, we'll put negative 2. And then plus b. Now 0 times negative 2 is 0. So we have 4 equals 0 plus b. And 0 plus b is just b, using the identity property of addition. So b equals 4. So going back to our equation, y equals mx plus b, we have y equals, remember that m is 0, x plus b. b is 4. Now, this is how we usually stop, but 0 times x just makes 0. So this is really y equals 0 plus 4, but 0 plus 4 using the identity property of addition is just 4. So our equation simplifies even more to just y equals 4. Now something to take notice of is that we have the slope of 0, and we ended with just a y in the equation. Remember our memory trick? Hoi, for horizontal lines, the slope is 0, and our equation is y equals something. So if we notice the slope is going to be 0, we want to think of hoi, and therefore the equation is just y equals. And notice both of the y coordinates say 4. So that's why our equation is going to be just y equals 4. Then we don't have to go through all the process of finding the b. Let's try something similar for number 5. Notice in number 5 that both of the x coordinates say negative 2. So if this x is negative 2 and this x is negative 2, that means the equation must be x equals negative 2. And that's it. And we're done. However, if you're not certain, start by finding the slope. Y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. X and y, this is our second one, this is our first one. Second one, first one. So subtract the y's, negative 8 minus 3 over, and now subtract the x's. Negative 2 minus negative 2. In the denominator, that makes 0. What does it make for the rest of it? Negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11. But anytime we divide by 0, that makes a slope that is undefined. We can't divide by 0. So this is undefined. The slope is undefined. Remember what undefined is related to? Vux. Remember hoi vux? Vertical lines, undefined slope, and so the equation has to be x equals something. In this case, x equals negative 2. But if you notice the x is the same in both points, you can go straight to the equation. Just like in number 4, where the y was the same in both points, you can go straight to the equation y equals 4. Let's take a moment to write a short summary. Explain the steps for writing the equation of a line when given 2 points. See you in class.